This spring, frost laws could easily ruin your shipment. We're going to touch on the 3 most impacted states by frost laws in the US. Those states are North Dakota, Minnesota, and Michigan. Frost laws always come up in the spring when the ground begins to thaw. It's no different than when you're walking around in your front yard in March. The ground's soft, squishy. States don't want to wreck the roads. So what they'll do is they'll limit the amount of weight that they will allow on the roads during the springtime because, again, of that soft ground. General rule of thumb for Michigan, Minnesota, and North Dakota is kind of that mid-February to early March they're going to come on, and then they're usually coming off end of April, early May. Again, as the weather warms up, the ground kind of gets a chance to dry out, things settle down. Probably the most impacted state by frost laws is the state of Michigan. The hard stops are going to be 14 foot wide, no more than 11 axles, and then no longer than 150 feet long. That's bumper to bumper, not your piece. So let's say that your shipment is smaller than that or fits within that criteria. Well, then we're also going to be limited on the amount of weight. So when we talk about frost, specifically in the state of Michigan, the state is pretty simple on the surface. So what they're going to say is on a single axle, you're allowed up to 18,000 pounds or 90% of what you're normally allowed, which is 20. When we talk about a tandem or a grouping of 2 axles, normally they'll allow 40. They cut you down to 32 or 80%. And then lastly, on the tridem, normally you're allowed 60. During Michigan frost, they're going to cut you down to 39,000 pounds for those 3 axles, or 65%. So what we need to keep in mind is when we put static cargo on the trailer is engineered to evenly disperse out the weight. That's important now because when we put something on there, we're only as good as our lowest factor, which is 65%. So we have to take into account that lowest common factor and then apply that across all the axle groupings. So let's look at a 6-axle setup. The steer tire, normally 20, Michigan says 18. In actuality, we're only going to be allowed 13 because, again, 65% of normal. And then when we look at the tandem setup or the drives, again, normally 40, Michigan says 32. In actuality, it's going to be 26,000 pounds. Again, 65% of what is normally allowed. And then obviously, lastly is the tridem, which is, again, normally 60, 65% is at 39,000 pounds. We're only as good as our lowest common factor. So when you break that all down, you're getting 39 on your trailer, you're gonna get 26 on your tandems, and then you're gonna get 13 on your steers. So that's gonna end up with an allowable max gross weight of 78,000 pounds with a 6-axle setup in that configuration. So we simply take off the weight of the equipment and that gives us our cargo weight. So in our scenario, in the state of Michigan with a 6-axle setup, you would be allowed 35,000 pounds maximum permittable weight during the frost season. Substantial, right? Exactly. So of course we've done the math on this here at ATS, and for our equipment on an 11-axle configuration, our max weight in Michigan during the frost season is going to be 58,000 pounds. Again, that is max weight. Everything balances out just perfectly. We certainly are aware of instances where there are some trailer types out there that avoid the tridem configuration and have a tandem configuration, so like a 2-2-2 setup versus a 3-3-2 setup, and those are oftentimes able to get a little bit more weight than we are during the frost season in Michigan. So if you're a shipper and you're worried that frost might affect your next shipment, all the state and Canadian websites, local municipalities are going to have frost laws listed on them, most of the time with historical dates, so you can kind of be prepared for when they came on last year, the year prior. Unfortunately, it is always completely weather-based, so no one can say with certainty too far in advance of when frost is going to come on. You can always reach out to a transportation provider, as they should have a general knowledge based on their historicals as well as to when frost is going to come on and what's going to be the maximum allowable weight or size in the state or province you're going through. If you'd like more information, check out the link in the description below, where you will find the ATS Learning Hub, a library full of free resources to help you become a supplier that always delivers for your customers. Thank you and have a great day.